Hi, I'm Kevin Eikenberry, and I'm here to help you reach your potential as a leader and a human being. Welcome to Remarkable TV. Today we're talking about excuses. Are you ready? Let's get started. In a famous comedy gag, Steve Martin used to make a statement and then he would end with, "Well, excuse me." Now, I didn't do it nearly as well as Steve, and it made people laugh when they were familiar with that gag. But the reality is that phrase was popular before Steve said it, and it's maybe even more prevalent now than ever. I'm suggesting we be really careful with excuses. Am I suggesting that we stop saying excuse me as a way of being polite for something? No, please keep doing that. I'm talking about excuses in general. Let's take an example. An example is you're late for a meeting, and so you walk in and say, "Hey man, I'm sorry, traffic was all backed up." The fact that traffic was backed up doesn't change the fact that you were late for the meeting and everyone else was waiting on you, and it doesn't change anything except you're using it as a way to sort of get off the hook or for people to sort of acknowledge you. Here's the problem with excuses. They hamper our productivity, they lower our self-esteem, and they reduce the responsibility we take for an event. Like at the end of the day, that whole thing with my little example with the meetings, it wasn't my fault, it was traffic's fault. But the reality is the rest of us don't care. And the fact is that you are ultimately still responsible for being there on time. An excuse, when we make an excuse and we're trying to make it okay, or we're trying to get off the hook, that's what I'm saying you want to try to get rid of, because it's hampering our ability to be personally responsible, right? So what do you do instead? You just apologize, take responsibility, and move on. Hey, I'm sorry that I was late for the meeting. It's my fault, and move on. Because that gives you the best chance of actually getting some grace from others. And we don't want to hear your traffic story anyway, right? So some people will say, and I've even actually said sometimes, well, listen, it's not an excuse, but it is an explanation. And maybe that's healthier, an explanation, unless we're using the explanation as well as a way to get off the hook, as a way to lessen our personal responsibility, as a way to feel better about it. So there's not necessarily something wrong with explaining, but even that, people don't really care. They don't want to know. Just apologize, take responsibility, and move on. So I have an exercise for you to do as a leader. Any of you can do this, but the third step is really for leaders. So here's the 3-step exercise. Week 1, count them. Yeah, for the next week, what I want you to do is to make a mental note, actually a physical note, of every time you make an excuse to yourself, out loud to others. Bonus points if you want to count all the times you make an excuse yourself internally. But every time you say something as a way of excusing behavior, then I want you to make a little tick mark. Count them. Week 2, ban them. The second week, I want you to do everything you can to ban excuses. Don't do any. Okay. Now, at the end of each week, I want you to reflect on how that went. When you counted them, how did you feel? What happened at the end of week 2? How was your work and life different? How was your productivity different by banning them or trying to ban them? Now, if you're a leader, here's the 3rd week's exercise. In week 3, share with your team what you did. You may want to have your team do a count themselves, or you may want your team to try to ban them. Right? I have in the past had my team ban what I think is the worst excuse of all, which is, well, I was busy. Worst excuse of all, busy. It's a way to get us off the hook. It's a way to ease our responsibility, but it doesn't help at all with our productivity in the least. So let me close. So excuse me. I want you to think about excuses. I want you to think about how they're impacting your work and your life, and consider trying something different. Let me close with today's tweet. Try a no excuses week and see how much your world changes for the better. Did you know that every single week here, no excuses, every single week here, we shoot another RTV, a Remarkable TV episode for you, and every week it's available to you, and I hope that you'll join us for future episodes. You can come back wherever you're seeing this, or you can sign up so you get an email reminder every week of the next episode. Either way, I look forward to seeing you on a future episode of Remarkable TV.